Hello and welcome to Daily Number Workout. Today is our first day and it's an introduction. So take out a sheet of loose leaf paper and head it Daily Number Workout number 1. So take your time, get it all set up. And we're going to be looking at each number and we're going to play with the numbers and see how many ways we can use that number in math concepts. So the first math concept we're going to work at is word form. So all numbers have word forms, and the number 1's word form is O-N-E, 1. Very simple. So sometimes we need to write it out as a word instead of a numeral. Okay, the next category that we're going to work with the number 1 is multiples of 1. And the number 1 is very versatile because every single number is a multiple of 1. So in our multiple category for the number workout, every day we're going to multiply our workout number of the day by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We're just going to go up to 10 because, there's infinite multiples of every number, but we're going to work on 1. So 1 times 1 is 1. 1 times 2, of course, is 2. 1 times 3 is 3. 1 times 4 is 4. 1 times 5 is 5. 1 times 6 is 6. 1 times 7 is 7. 1 times 8 is 8. 1 times 9 is 9. And 1 times 10 is 10. All right, so we're moving right along, looking good. So now we're going to move on to the next category, which is factors. And that is every number that may be divided into our number is a factor, as well as factor pairs, which are two numbers multiplied together, which equals our number of the day. So the factors of 1, and we're going to do a strategy that helps us realize that we have all the factors, and that is we're going to put 1 over here. So 1 times our number, and we're going to put our number down here. And this is a strategy. We're going to start off with this one, even though it's very simple. But 1 times 1 is 1. And by doing this technique, we know when to stop. So right now, number 1's too easy. But when we get bigger numbers, you're going to notice how this works for us very well. So there's no other numbers in between 1 and 1. So we'll just draw a line in between. Those are the factors of 1. That's it. All right, so now let's write down even or odd. And so we want to determine whether the number 1 is even or odd. And so I'm sure all of you know that any number that ends in the ones place as 1, 3, 5, 7, or 9 are odd numbers. So definitely number 1 is odd. So you're going to write the word odd. And then we ask ourselves if it's prime. Is this number prime? And in order to be prime, you can only have a factor of 1 in itself that is multiplied to make itself, or 1 or itself can be divided evenly into it. So definitely the number 1 is prime. So you can write the word prime. All right. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to find out what the fractions, and write an equal sign because we're finding out the equivalents in decimals, and then write the equal sign again, and we're finding out equivalent of the fraction, decimal, and percent. So take your time writing that down. I'm going to move my chart paper up so we can all see what's going on. Hopefully everything won't fly. All right. So way up it goes. I'll get out of your way here so you can see what you're doing. So fractions equals decimals, which equal percent. So we have equivalent, fraction, decimal, and percent. So we won't write the word equivalent right now, but these equal signs represent equivalence. All right, whoops. All right, so let's get down to it. So you're looking at this thinking, well, our number is number one today. So how can we make a fraction out of the number one? Well, we are going to use the concept of 1 out of 100. So this is the first day of 100 school days. So we're going to write this in a fraction as 1 out of 100. And right next to the line on our fraction, we want to write the words out of, because that's what the meaning of that line is. So whenever you're reading a fraction, it is 1 out of 100. So we're going to write that down, 1 out of 100. And another way to write this is 1/100th. And there's always a TH at the end that represents part. If we just had 100, that would be like 100 whole dollars. But we don't have 100 whole dollars. We just have 1 out of 100. So that gives you an idea of how to write that. So we want to write all the different ways we might see that. Next, we're going to put an equal sign here, and we're going to write this in a decimal. So the decimal for 1/100th looks like this. And we're going to talk about what this is. So this is the ones place. There's no whole numbers. There's a decimal, which always stands for and we'll talk about that in a minute. And then this is the tenths place, like in dimes. And this is the hundredths place, like in pennies. And we're going to talk about dollars and cents here soon. So the way we would write this would be 0 and always represents the decimal 1/100th. We want to make sure we get that TH at the end, 100th. All right, let's add another equal sign. And so 100th in percent would be 1%. So what that means is if you walk into a store and you're going to buy something and they said, well, they have a discount today of 1% off, that would mean you get 1 penny off of every dollar. All right, our next category, which will be ratio. And ratio is all about comparing probability. There's all kinds of ratio that will be touched in your math book later on this year. So the way we would write ratio is very much like a fraction. 1 out of 100 people like to swim. So 1 to 100 people like to swim. Or we would write it 1 and we'd have these, it looks like time. Whoops, I'm sorry. Would be, oh yeah, 1 out of 100. So there we go. 1 to 100. Use that little line. All right, so ratio might look like this. 1 out of 100 people run a marathon, and so on. All right, we're looking good. Let's go on to the next. We're talking dollar and cents. So if we have similar to the decimal, but this time we're going to put it in dollar form. So we're going to have the dollar sign. And then we have $0.01, and that's how we would write it. $0 and always use that and for the decimal, and 1 cent. Looking good. All right. So we're onward and upward. Let me move along here. So let's get some more space. You might need to turn your paper over. So take your time. I'll leave that one on there for now. So now we're going to go into area. And area is, I'll write A here, equal to width times length. Perimeter is equal to width plus length plus width plus length. And there's another way to write that, but we're going to do simplest form of addition. So today is number 1. So we're going to draw 1 square. And the easiest way to find area, or the easiest objects to find area of, are usually quadrilaterals like squares and rectangles. So this square, of course, this 1 square is 1 width. The width is 1 and the length is 1. So this would be 1 times 1 equals 1. And area is always represented as square units. Square units. And you can see there's only 1 square unit there. All right. And the perimeter, if we were to do perimeter, so let's go ahead and draw it again down below here. And we know it is 1 width, 1 tall, 1 width, and 1 tall. So we are just adding up the sides. You know, our perimeter is just the outside, like a fence of the yard. And it is a linear measurement. Linear means 1 line. So this line kind of turns at 90-degree angles on this square. So it would be a 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1, which equals 4 units. Not square units, because we're not counting the inside. We're just counting the linear units, the outside. All right, looking good. Let's go on to the next thing, which is volume. All right, volume. So write down volume. And volume, let me get this taken care of here. Volume is width. So write this down. Times length times height. Width times length times height. And we're talking in cubes. So there's a capacity, or it can hold things. If this was like a box, it could hold things. And so it's telling us what the volume is. That's what we're going to find out, is the volume, what can fit in this box. Okay. It's 3-dimensional. 1, 2, 3. So let's go ahead and we're going to draw 1 cube, which is what our number is today. So here it is. We got a square, and in order to make it a cube, we take a diagonal line off that way, a diagonal that way. These two are parallel, and then this one is parallel to them. And then we're going to just connect the ends, and there we have a cube. Does not have to be perfect. Make your cube as easy as you can and let it go. All right, so this width is 1. This length or depth, so this can be depth as well. I like to do depth too. So write down the word depth so you know it can be depth, because that makes more sense. It's 1 deep, and then it's 1 tall. Width, depth, and height. So when we go to calculate this, it's a 1 by 1 by 1, which equals 1. And we're going to call this a cubic unit, which equals volume. And as a little fixer-upper, go back up to square units and write area equals A area. It's always nice to have everything on there. Later, we'll be working on surface area, but today we're just going to leave our number workout right here where it is. And tomorrow I will see you for the number 2. Good day.